Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to Jedi Granville Productions. I am Jedi Granville, and of course, if you like the nickname that I've been um, given by some of my aficionados, sexual chocolate. But we won't go into that. Anyway, no, it's good that you're back and coming back to see me again. And this is a segment of my channel, which I call the movie reviews, and it's it's a film. It's a review of a film that's been getting much, if you want to call it backlash or you know more robustness into it. It depends on your point of view, but the overall thought process of this film is either working in for it or against it, depending on your point of view. Again, as I say, and the film I'm talking about is the latest entry from Mr. Christopher Nolan, and that is The Odyssey, which is based on Homer's poem. And let's just say that, in fact, I'm gonna go ahead and just say my piece about this film, and because it's not going to be a really long video, but I feel it needs to be addressed. I feel it needs to be addressed. Okay. I, for one, because I'm going to discuss the elephant in the room real quick. I feel, for one, that the changes that were made in certain characters because of gender swapping or ethnicity, it's okay. Whatever the reason, that's, to me, that is the artist's choice. That's the story maker's choice. That's the filmmaker's choice in what they choose to do. You have to respect them for that. And not every, in fact, let's be honest, some of the stuff that Christopher Nolan has done in the past, film wise, in certain stories, some may not agree. I know I wouldn't agree with some of them, but here's the bottom line about this film altogether. Just start at the beginning. Is it a good film to watch? Is it an entertaining film to watch? Is it worth your time to watch? Yes, yes, and yes, it is. Because let's get this right out the way right now. The whole controversy behind the things I just mentioned, controversy-wise, they don't even last that long in the picture. This is a damn near 3-hour-long film. And the events of the characters that we see in this film are not in this film that long. In fact, the only people who are in this film the most are like Anne Hathaway and Matt Damon. They're pretty much the glue of the film. The rest of the characters that I mentioned, and that deal with the ethnicity and gender swapping, put them together, it's like maybe less than 10 minutes out of a 3-hour-long movie. And I, for one, feel like that's a reason to go watch, because you allow, like I say, I get it, because I'm kind of the same way. I was almost not going to see this film myself. I was not going to go watch it. But thankfully, I did go see it. I watched it yesterday. And thankfully, I did go watch it because it's a tribute to Mr. Nolan's, like I say, storytelling. It's his way of dealing with how he tells a story in a very, unique way of how he does it. He's got a unique signature of how he does things. So it's like all, like I say, all the controversy is going to be controversy, no matter what. People are going to come controversial with things, no matter how they say or describe or whatever. But this film, I have to say, it's definitely Nolanish. It's definitely Christopher Nolan's signature. He's definitely telling a broad story in a grand view. And believe it or not, I got to see this film in IMAX. I got to see it in the full IMAX mode. I guess because the theater that I went to, it can adjust the screen uh, scope, the perspective, from the 2.35 ratio to the total IMAX feel. And I gotta say, seeing it in the IMAX mode through the whole 3 hours, wow. I mean, it's wow. I can't say enough about it. It shows right there Nolan's initiative to make sure he tells a hardcore story. Um, it's interesting because we see Mr. Tom Holland in here, Mr. Spider-Man. There was one moment when I'm looking at one point where he does something, and I'm saying, "Come on, Spider-Man!" I was like, I was actually saying that to myself, but he does a good job, and the fact that Zane, if I'm pronouncing her name, Zanewi, which is his wife now, I believe they're married now. She's in here, and I'm just kind of like, is she in here just because he's in here? I don't know. And beside the point, she's not in there that long, and I get the fatigue, that kind of gets weighing, but it's like she's not in here in this picture that long. But the moment when we see why her part is significant, it's like, okay, I can see it now. So like I say, a lot of this film is touch and go, and it's just like, wow, why is it? But the bottom line is, don't let yourself get overwrought by that, because like I say, I for one was the same way. I was, in a way, I'm kind of still am, but give it a chance and see what you think. And fortunately for me, I was glad that the latter happened, which is give it a chance, and I actually enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it. Now the choices of the different, whatever, dealing with that, I'm just like, it's beside the point. But the great thing about it is it did hold up with what it was supposed to be doing, which is tell a good story. And as I say, it really gives you a different perspective of how certain things happen, because like I say, the movie takes place after the conquest of Troy, and then goes into this journey with ODYESSY, which is Matt Damon's character, and how he has to deal with certain things that he's in choices that he's made. And I can honestly say, from the point of view of how I look at it, it's very interesting how this film is done. It's done mostly, from what I'm looking at, it was done mostly like, okay, it's set in present, but it's doing a lot of, it's almost a non-linear picture. It's done in flashbacks. It's backstories. So it lets you know that everything that is told in the present is being seen in the past. And truth be told, I don't have a problem with doing that, because sometimes when you do films like that, it gives you a different perspective of what the character has gone through and what they've seen and experienced in their lives, and hopefully makes them give better choices future wise. And I think that was the whole purpose of what Matt Damon's character was going through. It's like, I did something atrocious, but I think I'm paying for it now, and it's like I say, it's pretty awesome film. I mean, I put it like this: is it better than Oppenheimer? It's not as good to me as Oppenheimer, but it still has its best features to it. But it's still worth a watch. I have to say, I say you definitely have to give it a watch. Now, as far as everything else, and that I say, this film, doesn't use a whole lot of. That's one thing about Nolan. He tries to do as much in-camera stuff as possible, and this film, he does old school filmmaking. I love that. He's a traditional individual like myself when it comes to filmmaking, and I feel like I'm glad that he did stick to his guns to what he was doing. I mean, there is a certain amount. When I say certain amount, maybe I gave like 15% of CG work used in this film. About that. The rest is pretty much in camera, and I feel like that's a great notion of Nolan to use what is necessary, not say use what is available. You know, it's like he's not like that. He's going to stick to the old tried and true ways of filmmaking, and he does that, which I, I commend him for that. But but as far as that, the film is pretty spot on what it's doing. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be controversial. It is, it's gonna continue to be controversial. Now, do I feel it deserves to be when war times comes around? I have to say yes. I say that's to, it'll definitely be up there for, you know, awards time. It'll be kind of hard. I ain't gonna say hard, but it's gonna be kind of a twist between Project Hail Mary and this. And I don't know what other film might be coming out that might be rival it in the future. But to me, this film is definitely one of Nolan films, and he does a good job with it. And again, like I say, I recommend it. I personally give it a 7.8. I feel like that is not so much, but I mean not so little either. You know, I feel like it's definitely worth the watch, and I feel like anyone who goes to watch it, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind because when watching this, it's such a grand thing. And I had to say something too. Certain people that are in this film, I was not expecting to see. You know, I was kind of like, oh, that person's in here, and it's like, oh, that person's in here. And it's like, oh my god. So it's definitely worthwhile knowing that we have very good character actors in a film. That shows Nolan knows how to make a good story. He knows how to make a good film. And I'm saying film, not movie, because movie is there to, you know, be all over the place. This film is a movie, but it's a film. It's more prestige. It's more artistic. It's more in the storytelling, and that's why I use film instead of movie. And I feel that's what it has to be chosen for. So, but as I say, I gave it a 7.8. In fact, I'm gonna give it a 7.9. I'm gonna be more lenient with it because I feel like it is deserving of that. I maybe in time, maybe it'll grow up to a 8 point something, but for right now, 7.9, and I feel that's necessary there. But that's about it, and that's my review on the Odyssey. And like I say, anyone who goes to watch it, you pick and choose what you want to do with it. What I mean, because it's up to you to decide with an open mind whether you choose to do it or whether you want to watch it or not. But that's pretty much it. Now, coming up on my channel later today, this afternoon, me and you know, me and Anubis will be discussing a very classic, so to speak, from '86 called Maximum Overdrive. And if anyone knows that film pretty well, then yeah, you already know. That's coming up this afternoon. And tomorrow, I'm going to be discussing um, the disaster films of the '70s, strictly the '70s, not the '80s or the '90s or even further on, just the '80s. I mean, the '70s, because the '70s was the booming manufacturer of disaster films at that time, Sunday. And next month, I have to say, I'm going to be pretty much on hiatus in terms of any kind of content, because since I work for the school board and school's gonna be starting soon, I'm gonna be fairly busy, so I will not be giving out anything as far as content wise, but say by the tail end of August, maybe, and I know the tail end of I know the beginning of September for sure, but maybe the tail end of August, I'll be back with content in terms of. So I'll be on hiatus for nearly a month, so to speak. So just to give you a heads up if you're looking for anything from me. But that's about it, people. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, you have a great day, weekend, whatever comes next. And me personally, I'm gonna be busy work, so but that ain't gonna stop me from making content. So with that being said, y'all take care. Y'all please be patient and always keep the film legacy alive. Peace out.